On this episode of Citizens, we talk to the Coastal Climate Collective, 3 East Coast women who are striving to make eco-friendly living more approachable for everyone. We'll get a chance to see some of their favorite zero-waste products, and they'll show us a few tricks to help move towards living a more sustainable lifestyle. Today, I met with the Coastal Climate Collective, Wendy, Shannon, and Melanie, 3 local women who are working wonders through their supportive online forum, educating locals on ways to reduce waste and live more sustainably. To find out more about the collective and how they got started, I first spoke with Wendy.
So our first goal was to build this community. So to have people feel like it was a place that they wanted to be, where they felt safe and they felt empowered, they felt excited about the impact that they could have just as one person, and really build a community around that. And we want to be, we want to be continually educating people and giving them ideas for more change and helping them level up as they get better and better at it. But we also have bigger goals. So we know that and believe strongly that all change matters, no matter how small, especially when it's done by many. But we also know that bigger change is necessary, and that change needs to happen from the top down as well as from the bottom up. So we want to make sure that the community becomes aware of the impact that they have as consumers, because we have a huge impact as a collective, the consumers, in that we influence not only corporate decision making but also political action. We want to do our best to leverage that as this community gets bigger and bigger. So the idea is to build a community that we can eventually leverage to make bigger impact, but continue making all of the impact at what might be considered the smaller level, as well as a group.
What's the urgency of that?
Well, the urgency is that we need to be aggressive in terms of our action as a planet. And so, the Climate Collective is based on the idea that all change matters, no matter how small, especially when it's done by many. And the idea was, how do we get people who are feeling kind of futile and frustrated by political inaction and corporate policy? How do we get everyday people feeling empowered again around that? Because a lot of people had lost their mojo around making change. I was feeling like the little changes I was making really weren't having any impact at all in the big picture. And so I thought, well, it would be empowering to me if I knew that lots of other people were making the same small changes. That would make me feel better about it and would keep me motivated to continue making changes and level up. And so the community is based on this idea that no matter where you come into it, so no matter what your starting point is, and we have people in the community who are just starting to make changes, just starting to get aware around this. We have people who are kind of where I would consider myself, which is somebody who started to make change but still has a long way to go. And then we have people who are probably like pretty much experts compared to me. And all of those people are welcome in this group, and we all motivate and support each other. It's a non-judgmental space, and it's really just meant to be empowering for people. And the idea, again, was, well, if I can it was kind of selfishly motivated. I needed that myself. And so I put this kind of group out there and just started trying to get people interested in it.
What do you think the most impactful thing that you do in your daily life that contributes to environmentalism?
Probably the biggest thing that I do is that we eat a plant-based diet in my house. So I cook plant-based meals, and I've been vegetarian myself now for probably 9 years. That's the way that I feed my family, and I'm teaching my kids to cook. And that's really probably one of the most impactful things that a regular person can do when it comes to making a difference. And that's because plants, just generally speaking, have a smaller footprint than animals do. So eating a plant-based diet has less of an impact on the environment, generally speaking, than eating an animal-based or a heavy animal diet does. So, but again, like in this regard, I would say we're not about black and white with the collective. It's about whatever change you can make. So it's, for a family that right now is eating meat every night, which is frankly pretty typical in Canadian households. Start small if that's what you can do. So if what you can do now is switch maybe 1 or 2 of your main meals to meatless meals, that's fantastic. We're going to celebrate that on the page. And then maybe in a few months or a year, you're going to be ready to level up and start eating 4 or 5 meals a week that are meatless.
Mm-hmm. Being a part of the Coastal Climate Collective, has that impacted your personal life in any way?
Being part of the collective, I've strengthened my friendship with 2 women who I really respect, which is awesome. So Melanie and Shannon are good friends of mine, and I love working with them. So that's definitely been a big upside to this whole project. And I've also met lots of really great people just through the community. So I've had, as I mentioned, I've had people offer to volunteer, and I've met with some of those people face to face. And so I've made some new connections there. And I love the online community. I love the discussion that happens in there all the time. And we've got a lot of regulars in there. So we have people who are posting almost every day in there and responding to challenges. And I feel like we've all started to get to know each other a little bit in there as well.
So for someone looking to volunteer, looking to participate or join the community, how would they go about doing that?
Well, joining the community is super easy. All you have to do is go on Facebook, look up the Coastal Climate Collective, and like and follow the page. You can also follow us on Instagram. So it's that simple there. If you actually are interested in doing more, then you can just send us a message through Coastal Climate Collective on Facebook or on Instagram and let us know that you'd like your name added to the volunteer list, and we will happily add you.
Then, Wendy showed me some simple ways she avoids using single-use plastics while grocery shopping.
Yeah, I have a bunch of strategies around grocery shopping that have helped me reduce plastic. The very first thing is that I always bring reusable shopping bags or shopping. I have like big buckets that I use that I bring, or baskets, but I always use a reusable shopping bag. And this is a really simple starting place for people. So I never ever take plastic bags. In fact, one of the things I always say to people is always ask yourself if you need a plastic bag ever. So if you're in any store and if the clerk offers me a plastic bag, I always think to myself, do I have a reusable bag? And even if I don't, I'll usually say, no, I don't need a plastic bag. And I'll either put it in my purse or I will carry it out without a bag, because usually I'm just going from the store directly to my car and then home, and I really don't need a plastic bag for that. So I bulk shop. So I try my best whenever possible to buy my food at a bulk store. And there are lots of different options for that now. So we're getting more and more of those available. Certainly in the HRM, there are quite a few options. But the bulk burn's a great place to start. And the reason I love bulk shopping is because I can go in there with my own jars. So I don't need to use any plastic when I'm in there. So I show up with all of my clean jars, and they don't need to be pretty jars like this. As long as they're clean, the bulk burn will let you use them. And what happens is they then, they weigh the empty containers. They mark the weight of the empty containers on in a little wipeable marker on there. And then I go fill up my jars with what I need, and I bring them back and they weigh them again and they subtract the weight of the jar when it was empty, and that's what I pay for. So it's a really great system, and a lot of people don't know that it's available, but it's a fabulous way to reduce plastic because I don't need to buy anything in plastic.
Next up on Citizens, we chat with Shannon and learn about some of the products she uses to maintain a zero-waste bathroom. After talking with Wendy about ways to reduce plastic waste, I couldn't wait to learn more. Next up, I spoke with Shannon to find out what inspired her to join the collective. So, Shannon, how did you get involved with Coastal Climate Collective?
So I have been friends with Wendy for a while through some entrepreneurial groups that we've both been a part of. And she came to me with this idea after she had started to grow the collective. And right away, I was super inspired, as I often am, by Wendy, and wanted to hop right on board and definitely not miss out on the opportunity.
What's the value of shopping locally?
Well, shopping locally is often better because you're buying produce and all of the things that you need from somebody potentially just up the road. So there's less overhead cost. You're often buying seasonally, which is also much cheaper. It's much cheaper to buy apples in season than it would be pineapple from wherever that comes from. Also, you're wasting less because it is not losing its nutrients and losing its integrity in the shipping. And so, you're not picking out a product that's kind of rotted already in transport, as it is anyway.
Yeah. If you could think of, off the top of your head, 3 or 4 of the biggest issues that you think that we should combat as a society, what would those be?
Get involved, kind of not sticking your head in the sand a little bit about what's going on, or even arguing against it, I guess. Getting involved with government and, sending those letters and showing up at the community meetings. Consuming less, so not becoming a slave to. I think it's important to stay citizens more so than it is to stay consumers. I don't identify as that first. I think a lot of big business considers you a consumer, and I want to be a community member or citizen. So I think that would be important.
Next, Shannon showed me a few of the products she uses as part of a zero-waste bathroom in her home.
So this is one of the topics that I cover a lot with the Coastal Climate Collective, and the reason that I cover it a lot is because this is the part where I practice what I preach in a way, as best as I can. I have a zero-waste bathroom for myself personally, and what that means is none of the things that I bring into the bathroom leave in the garbage can or the recycling bin. And so I just brought a few products to show that help me achieve that goal. Kind of like one of the biggest things that I get asked about is shampoo, and this is a shampoo bar, but it's actually just a soap bar. I get it locally here in Nova Scotia, and I use this for all of the things. It's actually the only product that I have in the shower, so no tin of shaving cream, no shampoo, no conditioner, no body wash, and I've asked specifically if she would not wrap this in the plastic wrap that she normally wraps it in. Wow. Yeah, so this is probably the best switch that I've made.
Okay.
The common ones are the bamboo toothbrush. I also actually make my own toothpaste out of a bentonite clay and essential oils. I use a lot of essential oils, so I make that for myself. We all need our own because you're dipping your toothbrush in instead of actually putting it on top. So you don't have to share, which is great. Everybody gets one.
Of course.
Another thing that I have in the shower is my loofah, and this is another local product that I get there grown. It's actually a gourd, and it's grown in the Annapolis Valley, and I use this as the loofah instead of that plastic loofah thing that is, sold at the drugstore or whatever. And it's really great, and I've been using it for a long time, and it's not deteriorating, and like I said, it's grown locally, so that's a bonus.
That's awesome.
All these things, with the exception of the toothbrush, I've kind of found and learned about at farmers markets and other local stores as well. This one is a little tougher for folks to get around, but I think there's a ton of interest about this safety razor. So this is kind of like the old school razor that we had before we had all of these disposable cartridges that are getting thrown away. And basically what happens, I don't have one in here because I find when I'm not using it to shave, I cut myself with it because I'm not as careful as I should be. But basically your blade just goes inside and you replace just the blade. There's no plastic at all. Okay. That little blade can be recycled. And so that's probably the only thing that I would classify as the waste piece from it.
Okay.
Makeup remover pads, I use these all the time. Another locally made crocheted thing. I actually even use these now as nail polish removers.
Oh, cool.
So I put my nail polish cleaner, if ever I wear nail polish, like the 3 times a year when I'm doing something fancy. And then I'll just use this. And the color doesn't always wash off entirely, but I'm just using it. So I have a dedicated one to use for my nail polish remover. Yeah. But again, I found those at the farmer's market. People around here are up to some pretty awesome stuff to help reduce waste around here. So, and then kind of like the last 2 things are like the biggest hurdles, I think, for people to kind of wrap their mindset around. These are what I call toilet on paper, or just wipes. My daughter and I use these. They sit in a little basket like this on the back of the toilet, and they get used, and then they go into a wet bag and wait for laundry day, and they just wash with the rest of the laundry at the end of their cycle. Like, it'll empty out, and my daughter will be like, my wipes need to get clean. Like, come on, she does not want to use toilet paper. And then reusable menstrual products. So I make and sell reusable cloth pads, and this is an example of that. I also use a Diva cup. I also use like period underwear. So there are lots and lots of things that you can do to make your period more healthy. It's one of those things that I researched, like kind of on the cloth diapering thing. I had 2 kids in cloth diapers and got my period back and went to buy pads in the store and was like, hold on a sec, why would I make this decision for them and not for myself? And so that kind of started this whole journey into finding out more about cloth pads, and then loving them so much that I want to like throw them from parade floats and making them to sell for everybody. It was kind of like a game changer for me as a woman. So I know people are kind of like hopping on board, thinking about ways to save money and save their health and save the environment. One pad has lasted, like all of my pads, I've had some of them for 10 years now, and they're still washing and going strong. So you're going to get a lot of wash out of them.
Next up on Citizens, Melanie talks to me about harnessing the power of the collective. And she shows me how to make some quick and easy cleaning products with just a few simple ingredients. I was surprised at how just a few simple changes could really make a difference for the environment. Next, I sat down with Melanie to learn more about the idea behind the collective and where she hoped to see it go in the future.
The Coastal Climate Collective is an online community right now that was started by Wendy, Shannon, and myself. And the goal is to create a positive, encouraging, inclusive community to share ideas on how each of us can make small individual changes in our own daily lives to reduce our impact to the environment. And the idea is that it can be kind of overwhelming to try to tackle big problems when you feel like you're doing it all by yourself. But if we can harness the power of the collective and get a whole bunch of people to do a lot of small things, it's kind of this self-perpetuating loop where you can build off of each other and learn from each other and learn all kinds of new ways to reduce your impact to the environment.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that. So how did you as an individual get yourself sort of into this organization, into this group with the other 2?
So I've been friends with Wendy for quite a few years. I work with her husband and her sister as an environmental consultant. So my background has kind of started me down this path, and I've always had these habits kind of building for the last 10 or 15 years of my life. And Wendy approached me after reading the IPCC report on climate change and the status of climate change and the urgency of taking steps to make change right now. So she approached me feeling like we needed to do something to reduce our impact collectively so we could tell our kids that we're doing what we can.
Yeah, of course.
So it's something that I've always been interested in and have made small changes myself over the years, but it was really Wendy. She got the idea. She approached Shannon and myself because of our own expertise and our personal relationships, and we just started the community from there.
For people that have such a fast-paced lifestyle, either as a mom or as a university student, you sort of get lost and environmentalism sort of becomes your last worry. How do you think your group can sort of bring back the issue at hand with people that have such a fast-paced lifestyle?
Yeah, and I feel like we're in a good position to really practice what we preach because we are really busy. We all have busy careers and busy families, and I think the mindset of not having to do it all or not having to do things perfectly and doing what you can, making small changes. So my family has always been quite sustainable, and not for the sake of being good to the planet necessarily. I grew up in my parents built a passive solar house. So south-facing, windows on the front, no windows on the back, but it was all about saving money. It was about being efficient. So it's always been a kind of an undercurrent growing up, because my parents don't like wastefulness. Yeah. So because they were just trying to provide for all of us.
What do you think is the most challenging part with raising a family and also being mindful of your resources? Is there one thing that you think of, or even one object that you think of is really hard to kind of stray away from with having young kids?
So we just try to focus on what we can do ourselves in our own home. So for instance, for birthday parties, I mean, we encourage them to ask for, we have a $5 party. So they ask for $5 from their friends instead of a present. And then they can choose like one special thing instead of getting a whole bunch of individual presents that they don't really need or want or love. It's easier for the parents who are sending their kids to our birthday parties. And we really try to focus on experiences rather than gifts. So, we didn't really buy them a birthday present each. We took them to a reptile show instead, and they loved that. And we're trying to focus on quality time together instead of things, and reducing what we buy.
If there's one message from the Coastal Climate Collective that you want people to hear, what do you think that message would be?
Just to do what you can, that you don't have to feel overwhelmed. You don't have to do anything perfectly. We need a whole bunch of individual people making small changes in their own lives, and to not be discouraged by the weight of this issue, that everyone's small actions add up, and small actions lead to bigger actions, both personally and in the collective.
Then, Melanie showed me another way to avoid buying single-use plastics by making my own cleaning products at home.
We're gonna make a quick soap for our dishwashers. This is one of our favorite tips and tricks, is to just make your own cleaners. There's a few products that you can buy, like washing soda, borax, vinegar, cast iron soap. If you have those in your pantry, you can make pretty much any cleaner that you want. So we're gonna make a quick dishwasher detergent. So get you to start with some coarse salt. That can be kosher salt, or coarse salt, that's pickling salt. So just dump it into a jar. You can go with that.
Right.
That's a cup of coarse salt, a half a cup of borax, a half a cup of washing soda, and this is like baking soda. You can get it at the regular grocery store, and a cup of water. And as I'm stirring this, if you could just drop in maybe 15 or 20 drops of grapefruit essential oil. Right. You just stir this to... It's affordable and it's sustainable, and you can just have it ready to go whenever you need it.
After a great day of getting to know the faces behind the Coastal Climate Collective, I was invited to learn a new way to garden by using newspaper and Shannon's own compost from home.
So we actually just want the worm poop, and we want to add it to the soil.
So this stuff, like the dirt without the worms in it, it's kind of a process to get all of the
I imagine once it's up and running for a while, it's a little bit more plentiful.
Right. Like houseplants, there was a little baby. They're making babies. Yay. I don't want to clap with my worm in my hand.
Don't smush your worm.
I had learned about so many easy ways to make small changes, but I felt inspired that these changes could actually help make a difference. The Coastal Climate Collective was not only doing their part to live more sustainably, but they were pouring their hearts into helping others find ways to do the same. No judgment, just positive, forward-thinking solutions. All change matters, no matter how small.